Hello everybody and welcome to Fantasy Premier League. The season is really very close to being upon us. I can't wait really. I don't know about you guys, but I'm looking forward to it. It should be a fascinating season. We're only on the 31st of July here, so we haven't seen a lot of the transfers that are going to come in. We haven't seen maybe even things like managerial changes yet, which could come in. So I'm kind of doing my team a little bit early, but I kind of thought I wanted to get a rough draft down, and I thought I'd record that so that I can kind of give you an insight into how my brilliant and strategic genius mind works. I'm joking, it's just so you guys can rip me for the players I'm putting in. Yeah, I will be starting a league this season. I'll probably do a follow-up video to this with everything before, obviously, the first games, and we'll do a Premier League preview videos and all that good stuff. So don't worry about that. But I thought I'd just record a video with my thoughts on some of the players we're putting in, and kind of seeing how that goes, really, and what I look for kind of in the different players, because fantasy football, it's an interesting game, I think, because it sometimes makes you think outside of the box. You can look at this and go, okay, here are the top performers in each category. So you have the keepers, defenders, midfielders, forwards, and a lot of the time the majority of them are from the top clubs and obviously worth a lot of money. But actually, sometimes you can see these little gems popping up and appearing. Jimenez for Wolves, for example, third highest point scorer from the forward lineup for Wolves, probably a fairly unfancy team at the beginning of the last season, and was pretty cheap, and 181 points. I'm sure he will probably be in a lot of people's teams. 34% it would seem. Yeah, you obviously have people like Aubameyang, who was the top goal scorer, I think, last season. And then you have other things where you're like, well, if I'm picking now, how many of these players will still be there at the beginning of the season? How many of them will actually start that first game? And what are the first games? Because that's obviously vitally important as well. So yeah, I like fantasy football a lot. And the last couple of seasons I've managed to pretty much keep a kind of consistent eye on it. I will say that last season I took my eye off the ball kind of towards the end of the season, and kind of paid a price for that a little bit, but it was fairly consistent, I think, across the board. So let's start off with goalkeepers. Who do we want? Who do we think is going to do well? Things I like to think about with goalkeepers, obviously the team they play for. Goalkeepers score points based upon clean sheets and saves made. I guess assists as well, but that's obviously a lot rarer. So obviously Alisson last season had 21 clean sheets, so he scored a lot of points. I take it that's saves, 76 saves. But then maybe you pick somebody like Dubravka, made 96 saves, only had 11 clean sheets. Obviously a whole million cheaper than Alisson. I'm usually of the mind to pick a goalkeeper from a top team who doesn't concede that many. Is usually a little bit better. But obviously things become tight with money because we only have 100 million. So usually, I think if I was going for, let's have a look at who's got who in the first game. So Liverpool got Norwich. I'm going to put it out there and say I'm figuring that's probably going to be a Liverpool win, right? Sometimes weird things do happen on the first game of the season, especially with promoted sides. They're really up for it. But I don't necessarily see Norwich being able to score against Liverpool. This could come back to bite me on the butt, but that's the way I would see that. Same with Spurs, though. And last season I did have Lloris in goal. And he did okay. And he's 500,000 cheaper than Alisson. So if we have a look and maybe see the next games Spurs have got Man City, so that's not good, because I think Man City would probably win that. Liverpool have got Southampton though, and then Liverpool have got Arsenal. Spurs have got Newcastle, and Spurs have got Arsenal. Liverpool have got Burnley. So I think Alisson is sneaking it in there for me. For that, what I usually do for my other goalkeeper is just choose who I think is the cheapest I can get, so a 4 million one to save some money, and then kind of work from there. I was wondering about Norwich's keeper though, like Farman. I quite like him, and I might add him in. He's 4.5, but we'll see. So as I said, this is kind of provisional. We may chop and change. Now defenders, again, they get their points from clean sheets, but also assists work well, which is why Alexander-Arnold and Robertson are in there. I kind of feel like these two players might actually be very good value, so I might actually put them in. I got OCD now because Robertson's in the middle. But then we probably need to have a look at some people who are a bit more of a bargain. Wan-Bissaka at 5.5. I wonder if that is not worth a punt. Chilwell's a very good defender as well, 5.5. They've still got Trippier. I don't think he's going to play the first game of the season somehow. Johnny Connor Cody of Wolves. Yeah, kind of looking. And then I guess we also have, if we just sort it by price, we can see some of the guys who didn't get any points last season, who have maybe joined a club or something like that recently. Delph, they've got down as a defender. I think that might be worth a shout, weirdly, because for my money, Fabian Delph's a midfielder, which means that he's likely to get more goals. Interesting. We'll put him in just for now. I wonder if Maguire's worth a shout with the whole transfer thing. 5.5 million is not that much. The question is, though, if he does go to Man United, how good are Man United going to be? Because he could go there and then he could concede loads of goals because Man United are not that good a side. So that's kind of difficult. If I look at who defensively, I guess, are a pretty good side. Palace can be okay, but I don't know at the minute how good Palace will be. Arsenal, putting Arsenal defenders in is, I think you should be banned from fantasy football if you put an Arsenal defender in, because they're just all shocking. Burnley's not a bad shout sometimes, like a Tarkovsky. Who have Burnley got? So they've got Southampton first game this season. They've got Arsenal second, Wolves, Liverpool. Yeah, they don't really have a great start. Who else has a fairly decent defence? Who have Wolves got? They've got Leicester. I fancy Leicester this season to do all right, actually. And Man United, Burnley, Everton. So I wouldn't say it's the hardest start, but it's not great either. Palace have got Everton, Sheffield United, Man United, Aston Villa. That's not bad. It's a bad shout, actually, but I don't know about who is going to be there or thereabouts at Crystal Palace. Van Aanholt's usually a pretty good shout because he does get the odd goal and he is a bit more marauding. And if we manage to actually sign a striker at some point, we might actually do okay off of it. But I don't know where he is actually. Let's have a look. There we go. Okay, Van Aanholt. Then we want, so 5.5. I think that's probably about what we want to go for there. I'm looking at the rest of this. I'm just wondering about what we're going to do. I liked Rudiger of Chelsea, but I have a feeling he's quite expensive. Beno Bolly, Walker Peters. With Trippier going, is Walker Peters going to get more game time, I wonder? And who have Spurs got for their first game? So Aston Villa, that should be Man City, Newcastle, Arsenal, Crystal Palace. I'd say a fairly good and bad start, basically, for them. I wouldn't want to put any Man United defenders in there either. I think Holebas was pretty good last season. Got 93 points, quite a lot of assists. Who have Watford got? Brighton, Everton, West Ham. They got an easy start. Yeah, we should be putting in some Watford players. He's only 5 as well. Okay, so provisional kind of there. Midfielders. So the Salah, Sterling, Mane, De Bruyne, whatever you want to call them, that kind of like, selection of people. Obviously, they're the kind of big money guys. You want to have some of these big money guys in there. But also there's other things to consider. I like the look of Pulisic, I'll be honest with you. 7.5. I think he'll play. And who have Chelsea got? Who's their start? Man United. Some might consider that easy. Leicester. Not easy. Norwich. Sheffield United. Wolves. Yeah. I'm going to provisionally put Pulisic in. Quite like him. Do we go for someone like a Salah? Liverpool's start. Did we speak about that already? Norwich, obviously, first game. Southampton. Arsenal. But yeah, they've got a good start, haven't they? Let's go. Do we go for a Salah or a Mane? Mane ended up with 231 points. Salah ended up with 259. Mane's been at the African Cup of Nations. So is Salah, I think. So the question is, like, will they come in? Or will they get rested? That is the question. It's always a risk, isn't it? I mean, I guess I'd probably go for. I kind of think Mane finished the season better, so I might go Mane there as a kind of big money midfielder. With the start Liverpool have, I think that's looking pretty good. And I'm not going for Sanchez; he can just fuck off. Do you know what? I'm going to go for Zaha. I always go for him at 7. That's not bad, and he might go to a bigger club, which might mean he gets more money. Brooks I liked from Bournemouth, but I feel like he faded off a lot last season, as did Bournemouth. But Bournemouth seemed to have a pretty good start, although they got Man City week 3, then Chelsea, but then Southampton. But it's a good start. They got Sheffield United first. Yeah. Bernardo Silva was a good one actually last season. I think he looked really vital for Man City. I think he's going to play a big part this season. I'm wondering if maybe some Maddison. Where's Tielemans actually? Let's go to Leicester. I liked Tielemans a lot. 6.5. He only got 63 points, but he didn't play that much. I think Leicester look pretty good this season, actually. They've made some good buys. Depends on who they keep and stuff like that, but I think provisional kind of midfield. And that leaves us with 19. For... wait, what am I doing? I just want forwards. Forwards, there we go. That leaves us with 19. So do we go for a big money forward like a Kane or someone like that? Kane's kind of fighting back. He has a lot of injuries, but I think he's looked pretty sharp pre-season. He might be a shout to start. Let's put him in. Doesn't leave us with a lot left. 8 million between two players is actually nothing, is it? God, what does that get you? That doesn't get you anything, does it? It literally is impossible, so we cannot even do that. I wonder if this Joe Linton is worth a shout as well. Who have Newcastle got? No, Arsenal, Norwich. Actually, I don't fancy Newcastle. I don't think that's a good shout. I wonder maybe someone like Solanke at Bournemouth might not be a bad shout. Adams at Southampton. But anyway, we're going to have to basically cut some people because we've spent too much money. So I think maybe we cut Kane. I don't know if that's enough on there. I like Batshuayi. I don't think he's going to get played, is he? Jimenez might be a really good shout here, I think. Jimenez, 7.5. Leaves us with 11. Wolves have got Leicester, Man United, Burnley, Everton, Chelsea. It's not the worst start in the world. I'm thinking of Watford. Might not be bad, but I don't think Watford have that many amazing forwards, actually, to be fair. Who have Arsenal? What's the Arsenal start? Because they do have some good. They've got Newcastle, Burnley, Liverpool, Spurs, Watford. Yeah, the first couple of games are good for them, I think, but I'm not so sure after that. I really like this Wesley guy for Aston Villa. I actually think I might provisionally pop him in. Now, we still don't have enough money, so we're going to have to cut back in some other areas. I think maybe one of the ones I might not take a risk on would be Pulisic at 7.5. We might go for who would we go for? Townsend. I can't have so many Crystal Palace players there, can I? So biased. A Lingard or a Mata? It's not a bad shout, is it? Bernard. Who have Everton got as a starter? So they've got Crystal Palace. They've got Watford. They've got Aston Villa. They've got Wolves. They've got Bournemouth. All of those are games which they're capable of winning. Doesn't necessarily mean they will. Let's see who they've got. Richarlison's a big one, I guess. I think Bernard had a pretty good end to the season. Andre Gomez was very good as well. At 5.5, he actually looks like a bit of a steal there, and that's freed up a couple of million there. For a 7.5 mil forward. Oh, we got the big money signing of Haller there at West Ham. I don't really like putting in players who've just joined a club in that way, like from a foreign league, because he says after, he says after he put in Pulisic and Wesley. But I kind of have a thing there. Pookie, I mean, if Norwich have a bad start, I think, in a way, because they've got to play Norwich do not have a good start. I would have fancied Pookie otherwise, because he's just been scoring for fun in the Championship, and sometimes that confidence can get you a long way. Chelsea, I'd fancy a Chelsea forward, but I don't know who the hell they're going to play, so I really don't know. It's got him and his Wesley. I'm not thinking of necessarily starting Wesley, but they got Spurs first game, so I definitely don't think I would. But yeah, I don't think he's a terrible shout. I just quite like him as a player. Who have West Ham got then? West Ham got Man City. Okay, doesn't look likely, does it? Brighton, Watford, Norwich. Aston Villa. See, they got a good start, I think. Once you get past that first week, that's not a bad start. Maybe he's not a bad shout. Is he a bad shout? Maybe he isn't. This is me being like, yeah, I don't really like betting players like this. Like, Jesus Christ, for Why am I so bad at fantasy football? I do not know. So there was a van that just pulled up outside. And I have a delivery on the way. I was worried it might have been that one. But I don't think it was for me. Okay. Yeah, it's just a question of some players have had kind of weird starts. I mean, Benteke 6 million. That's so sad. Okay, who would I? So I like Arnold and Robertson in there. Mane is one who I could potentially drop. I have no money remaining. I don't have a Tottenham player in the entire side. Tottenham's start is Aston Villa. Then it's Man City though. Newcastle though. Then Arsenal. Then Crystal Palace. So they do have some games you would expect them to win. I worry about Tottenham at the minute. I feel like they're very destabilised. I don't think Eriksen's going to be there. Son is not going to make it. He's suspended, yeah. Son's usually the guy you'd want to put in. What about the new player they signed? I think he's more, isn't he more of a kind of defensive type of midfielder than Ndombele? Yeah. I mean, Kane up front does seem... Would it be more prudent to maybe turn around and be like, okay, put Kane in up front. He's bound to get goals against Aston Villa, right? And then spend 8 million on a midfielder. Is that more? Is that a smarter move? I could put Pulisic back in then, couldn't I? We could have Richarlison. He did quite well last season, didn't he? Done well for the last 2 seasons, actually. And they have Crystal Palace. They have Watford, Aston Villa, Wolves. Yeah, Richarlison feels like the guy who's standing out there. Let's just have a little look through. Sigurdsson, I'm not... He did score more points than Richarlison, to be fair. Very good, but I don't know. Something about Sigurdsson, I'm not too sure. Ozil I wouldn't touch with a yardstick. Fraser did well last season. Bournemouth's start, I think we worked out, was fairly kind. They've got Sheffield United. They've got Aston Villa. But then they've got Man City. Then they've got Leicester. So you could maybe argue keep him in for the first 2 games and then rotate him out. Martial has been disappointing, I think. Did get 10 goals last season, but Man United's start is Chelsea. Yeah, I don't think that's a great shout, to be honest. Milivojevic does well for Palace because he takes penalties. 12 goals last season is not a bad return. That's nearly as many as Richarlison, to be fair. Yeah, do we fancy that? I think the thing is, though, with Milivojevic, Palace get a lot of penalties because Zaha's so tricky. If Zaha's not at Crystal Palace, where do you go from there? See, Zaha might not even be playing in the Premier League, to be fair. So I might have to change this, but we'll see. I'm tempted to go with Richarlison. The question is, do I think Everton are going to beat Crystal Palace at home? The answer is probably yeah. I've already got 2 Everton players though, so I don't want to stack everything up on them. I haven't got any Chelsea players, and I think Chelsea... I kind of fancy Pulisic. I'll keep an eye on him though, because I'm not sure. But I feel like he's going to play a very attacking role, and he does get a lot of assists and goals. I think that's a really good thing for a midfielder. So once I select this, that's it, right? I can't unselect this. So is this what I want to kind of commit to? If I look at what's my starting lineup going to be? I'm going to play 2 up front, Jimenez and Kane. I'm going to play 4 defenders, probably, I don't know, definitely these 2, and then whoever I fancy out that, probably Holebas, and then one of these 2, depending on if Delph plays in midfield or not. Then in midfield, I could play all of those, to be fair. So I could play 3 defenders. I think all of them are potentially going to do quite well. I'm just thinking if there's someone out there I can switch for someone who's worth a little bit more. Because I've still got 500,000 left to spend. So if I was going to replace anyone, probably be Van Arnholt. So I'd have 6 million. Who could I get for that? Oh, Rudiger, that's a shame. Is he suspended? Knee injury, that's a shame because I like him. Although they are playing Man United, I'm not sure I'd fancy a clean sheet there. Who's going to definitely get a clean sheet first game of the season? Probably Liverpool. Probably not Man United. Probably not either of those two. Probably not either of those two. Spurs? Is that not a bad shout? Can we get any Spurs defenders? No, they're all too expensive. Oh no, here they go. I just have no idea who's going to play out of those. No idea whatsoever. So I don't really want to pick any of them. Bournemouth defenders, I'm not too keen on. West Ham, no way. Watford, we've already got Holebas. Yeah, I don't know if there's anybody I'd actually switch up there. And in midfield, I like Gomez there for 5.5. I think that's decent. I'm actually kind of happy with this. Maybe the Bernardo Silva thing. We could go 8.5. Who can we get for 8.5? We could get Mahrez, Pogba. How many points did Bernardo Silva get last season? 154. And the thing is, I think he'll play as well. I think he will play. He was looking pretty vital for them. I like Tielemans. I don't know about any of these. He only got 102 miles last season. He was disappointing. Pogba got 179. Is he still going to be there though? They've got Chelsea first game of the season. But then who have they got? Wolves. Don't fancy that we get away to Wolves, to be fair. Palace at home. Southampton. Yeah. It's a tricky one, isn't it, actually? I don't know if there's anybody else I'd rather have in there at the minute. If we're maybe replacing Zaha, I don't know if I would though. With who? David Silva? I don't know if he's going to play. I only have one Man City player. That's slightly worrying. I've got 2 Liverpool players. Is only having one Man City player a bit of a shocker? Instead of Pulisic, who can I get from Man City for 8? No one. That's why they're all so expensive. Sort of team name, the Minty Peas. Always go for that every season. It's just a tradition. Okay, here we go. So as I was saying, I'd go like this. Definitely have him as the captain. We'd go. I think I can switch up as much as I want, hopefully. I don't know. I may have just made a terrible mistake, guys. Who would I play first game? Brighton. I think I'd fancy him in there. Oh, I can't switch him out, damn. It's going to bug me. Pulisic, Zaha, Bernardo Silva. Do we want Tielemans in there instead? Instead of, I'd probably put him in instead of Delph and go like that. Okay. I wonder if this is. I wonder if this is the best options. Well, I'll have a think about it. And that's kind of my provisional team. I'll be very interested to know who you guys have gone for, who you think is like just an absolute must, who you think is a bust. Yep, I rhymed it. Yeah, I think that'll be interesting. Hopefully it'll be a good season. Who knows? Oh, let me just design my kit. Okay, gotta have the stripes. Red. And blue. There we go. We're going to go for rainbow laces. There you go. Shorts are blue. Socks are hoops. And then blue. This is obviously one of the most vital parts of any fantasy football. So how many people already? 2 million. 2 million. I think last year there was 5, something like that. I'm sure that will ramp up as we go through. I think Alisson's a good vice captain there. I think he'll get a clean sheet against Norwich. I think these two should do quite well as well, hopefully. I think that kind of concludes the video. Let me know what you guys think. I'm very intrigued. But till next time, thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.